Jesus, just a closer walk with thee. Number 41, where we'll never grow old.
Beautiful home of our soul. song gets to me.
I like that song.
You like that song?
Love it.
We won't have bronchitis anymore, will we?
Have to worry about age or anything. It's just
Yeah.
Bring it on.
things.
Bring it on. Yeah. All right.
Christmas parade today.
Huh?
Mike said a Christmas parade today. Yeah.
Christmas parade is today. So we'll have to be out of here by 2. Otherwise, we'll get blocked in here and can't get out. Or you can drive into the parade if you want to. I don't care.
Maybe we can put out traps.
Yeah, there you go.
We need to run over their Santa Claus if he's out there. There's St. Nicholas.
And the reindeer as well.
Yeah. I don't know exactly where to start this morning. I'm going to start with this right here. You're familiar with Michael Pinion over in Knoxville. Michael is very, very sick. He has to have his kidneys emptied, dialysis 3 times a week. He started when he's 6 years old. He's 41 now, and Michael has got more problems than you can imagine. Michael was in prison. He saw us on the TV in prison. Michael comes from a very poor family, and he's in construction. He could do everything. He said, I can build a house from the ground up. He said, I can put in the foundation. I can frame the house and brick the house and do everything, put in the plumbing. He said, I started when I was young. He had a guy that worked for him that came to his house one time over 20 years ago, and the guy wanted more money. And he started fighting Mike. Mike's very straight and honest. And Mike said, I hit him. Knocked him down, he hit his head, and it killed him. If he'd had the kind of lawyer, he would have probably got off with manslaughter. He didn't. They put him in prison for over 20 years. And when he was in prison, he saw us on TV. Turned his world upside down. And when he got out of prison, he contacted me. He's a painter. He painted that picture of Jeremiah hanging in the mire back there. Painted this picture up here, a man in hell. And he was sent home about a week and a half ago to die. They said, we can't do anything for you anymore. You need an operation. In all probability, you won't come through the operation on your heart. You probably won't wake up. Mike said, I am content. He said, I'm happy, I'm joyful, I'm going to be with the Lord soon. He loved predestination. He loved this message. He said, I am preaching to everybody. He said, they don't understand why I'm this happy. He said, I'm just waiting for the Lord to come and get me. I asked him if he would write a letter about his diseases. He wrote one. He's got every kind of thing wrong with him. This is a picture of him here and his arm. And the problems he's having, his arm is real swelled up. He's lying in a bed in the hospital. He's amazing that he's feeling the way he's feeling. He said, I am content, I'm joyful. I told my mother, can you understand this? She said, I'm trying. He's talked to his grandmother. She came here, when he came here, his grandmother, he said she is hard and calloused towards the truth. His mother is kind of puzzled at why he's the way he is. I asked him if he'd write a letter, and it looks like a long letter, but it's in big letters because he has a hard time doing things. I want you to hear what Michael has to say. Jim, Mary, and all my patria, my fathers and mothers, at Grace and Truth, I love you all. It could be worse. Jim, you have been my brother, my father, and always my friend. Through the hardest thlipsis, he uses the Greek words, trials and tribulations of my life these past 9 years. He's been watching us that long. He said, I watch your DVDs all day. Grace and Truth has been here. It was a tissue growth. Wait a minute. Let me make sure I get everything. I don't think I could ever thank the Lord enough. So for this eternity, I'll do better. My mentor, Jim, okay, this is the information you asked for. I asked him to tell me about his problems, for about my condition. I was born with a birth defect called food scoliosis. It was a tissue growth in my urethra. The tissue wouldn't allow my bladder to release my urine. By the time I was 6 years old, I had an enlarged bladder and I went into kidney failure. When I was 10 years old, now he's 41 now. When I was 10 years old, I suffered kidney failure again. At 14, I suffered kidney failure for the third time. By then, I had undergone surgery after surgery, medicines, and procedures, and about 4 or 5 doctors. All that time, I had a nephrologist by the name of Dr. Caroline Cooley. She was ready when my kidneys failed. She had everything arranged so that when they failed, I was getting a transplant. My mother's kidney. It lasted until I was 18. His mother gave him her kidney. December 1995. I'm telling you his story. It failed, and I had my first dialysis treatment December 15, 1995. That was 23 years ago. I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me. A lot of what is wrong with me, I brought upon myself from the time I was 23 until I was 40. I was only out of prison for 16 months. During that time, I developed hyperparathyroidism. Parathyroid regulates a bunch of things in our bodies. One of them is calcium in our blood. If the calcium gets low, the parathyroid will go to work and get the calcium from wherever in the body it can find it. When my calcium level dropped, my parathyroid took the calcium from my bones and makes him weak in the bones. The worst place it took was from my C5 vertebrae in my neck, causing me to have major neck and spine surgery. For the 15 and a half years I was incarcerated, my parathyroid level, PTH level, ran 1,500 to 2,200, when it is only supposed to be 150 to 200. That and damage from the blood clot in 2012 has crippled me. There is all kinds of other factors involved too. Phosphorus level, when it is high, it eats the calcium out of my bones too. What calcium my body doesn't use is deposited in my soft tissues, tendons, ligaments, muscles, heart, lungs, and brain. I stay in pain. My legs are stiff. I can't bend. He can't bend over. His legs are straight. My right arm is drawing up. The muscles are shrinking and becoming hard. I can't bend my fingers. Only use my thumbs to my hands like lobster claws. I have no way to take proper baths, so I wash as well as I can, but I am covered in dead skin. You think you're having a hard time? Sometimes I feel dirty and ashamed. I know I'm crippled, and it's a little art of my hands. Then I thought if I could have a handicapped shower built in where I could just walk right into, I could get good baths. I've spoken to my parents about installing a handicapped shower. They agree and approve, but they don't have the finances to help me. Anyway, Jim, I want you to know I look up to you. You and Jesus, the way you help people, all you and Grace and Truth has done for me makes me want to pay it forward. I have a lot of DVDs of the same numbers, so every time I go to the dialysis center, I take a DVD or two, and it never fails. There is always someone who starts speaking on the subject the DVD is about. So I give them the DVD. I keep moving. I'm not able to do so much, but I obey when he tells me to do what I am able to do. Jim, you have been and still are the best role model, mentor, brother, friend. Tell Mary and the rest of Grace and Truth family I love them and stay true. I love you, Jim. Michael Pinion. That's something, isn't it? He's going to die any time. Mike went over to see him last night. Mike Lighting brought this letter back. I don't know what else to say. I love Michael. I love you, Michael, if you're watching. He really loves this truth, and it's a comfort to him. I don't know what else to say. I hope this can inspire some of you to be a little more compassionate, gentle. He told me the other day, he said, Jim, I have no resentments against anyone. He said, I'm content to get to go be with the Lord. We talk about God doing a work on somebody. He really did that on him. This is I don't know if this would be appropriate, but put this picture of him back there on that bulletin board so you can at least see what he's about. Would somebody come and get this and put this, just pin it back there with a tack on the bulletin board, but that's what he's going through. I love Michael. He's been an inspiration to me. I hope he'll be one to you too. I've got some other emails.
Do they give him anything for pain?
He gets pain medication, but he's in pain constantly around the clock. So if you think you've got problems, probably not compared to Michael. He's going to die anytime. They can do nothing else for him. They can't operate. He cannot take the dialysis anymore. And he said, yesterday I talked to him twice. He said, I'm in constant pain. But he said, I am content. I am happy that I'm going to be with the Lord. Get out of this body. I'm going to read it.
That is a DVD in its own, what you just did up there.
Huh?
That's a DVD by itself
Yeah.
to pass around to people.
Yeah.
What you
Yeah,
just
that would
told
be a
me.
DVD. That would be just the fact that he's happy and content, believing predestination, that this is all ordained of God. It's all, he said, I know it's God's plan for me. And he said, he wasn't supposed to live past his 20s. And they gave him a week to live about a week and a half ago. I didn't know if he would be gone by the time Mike got over there last night. I called Mike. I said, if you're going over, you're going to have to go now, because any day he can pass away. I asked him how it would happen. He said, I'll probably go to sleep and not wake up. So the end is there for him. He'll be going to be with the Lord any time now. I love you, Mike. Let me read a couple of these other emails. John Lanny writes and says, hi, Pastor Jim. Some that are free will argue from Ephesians 2:8, for by grace he is saved through faith. That faith comes first in Greek construction of the phrase, and that grace follows. But clearly from other verses, grace provides the faith of Jesus. That's exactly right. Grace means unmerited favor, and God has to put faith in our hearts, since there's none that seeketh after God. And he says, what do you see in the construction of Ephesians 2:8 from the Greek? John Lanny, I see the same thing you see, John, that grace puts faith in our hearts. And then Albert Kofi writes, dear brethren, greetings in the name of our Lord Jesus. I read your article about Sunday or Saturday. When did believers meet to worship? It helped me to answer some questions I was confronted with by a Seventh-day Adventist. Thanks. Do you have anything in writing on spiritual Sabbath and its implications? Thanks, Albert Kofi. We'll give you what we have. And then Frederick Asplund writes from Sweden. Greetings, Grace and Truth Ministries. I thank our Father that he gave me ears to hear. I'm grateful to be able to help you hear from the other side of the pond, talking about the Atlantic Ocean. And I'm grateful to be able to help you from this other side of the pond. I'm watching you on YouTube and are fine with that. Thank you. I will try to spread this message here in Sweden. Unfortunately, most people are lukewarm, and a cover of apathy lies heavily across this country. Well, it goes for here too. Nobody preaches what Jim does. Death to self, daily cross, self-denial, predestination. God doesn't love everybody. Death to self, self-denial, daily cross. Christmas is pagan, Easter's pagan. I don't know anybody that preaches all of that. Frederick Asplund in Sweden. Then Dylan Schoweiler in Arkansas. Hey, Brother Jim, I was wondering if at all possible I could get a few DVDs. I'm a new believer. Thank you. You can have everything we do for free. We don't charge anything for it. I'm not going to read a lot more, just read a couple more. I got a bunch to read. We'll read some tonight. Teresa Jackson writes from Kansas. Hi, Jim and Mary. Hope this email finds you and Mary and the church family doing good in the well way. The Lord has provided decent place for me. Stay here in Kansas City for the next 6 months, wondering if there was needy women, believer that needed a place to live, was wanting to relocate to Tennessee within 5 to 6 months. I guess they wanted to get a place and have somebody move in with them. Lord willing, I'm considering moving to Tennessee by or before 2019 to be a servant and closer to the church family. Thank you. Please give me a call when you can. Teresa Jackson in Kansas. And then Robert LaBarbara writes from Texas. Hi, Jim, Mary, grace and truth. This is just a short note to let you know that I am praying for you all, and especially Jim and Mary's health. I love you all so dearly, and it is refreshing to see such a desire for the truth in your congregation. God bless you all. Love, Robert LaBarbara down in Houston, Texas. And I got many more. I just don't have time to read them all. Let me mark the one I read. And some of you came in since I read that letter from Michael Pinion. He's been given about a week to live. Well, he was given a week about a week and a half to go. And he's the one that's on dialysis. They can't give him dialysis anymore. And they sent him home to die. And he loves this message, loves predestination. He said that's what's comforting him, knowing this is all the will of God. I'll read some more of these tonight. This is the letter. I don't know if you want a copy of it. I could make copies of it, but it's very convicting. He's ready to go when the Lord comes to get him. What would you do if you was going to die and you knew, not maybe you will die any moment, but you knew you were going to die any moment? That your time was limited to a day or two or a week or two. What would you do? Would you change? You know what he told me? He said, I'm not angry at anybody. He said, I've had people steal from me since I've been sick. Somebody give me money and they'd take it, particularly his brother. He said, I'm not angry at him. I'm not angry at anybody. He said, I'm just content with everything. He said, I tried to explain that to my mother. He said, she kept saying, I'm trying to understand, but couldn't quite get a hold of. It's like I told him, and I'll say it to you. When you say, I'm not there yet, well, you can't be there yet, because dying grace is only given to people who are dying. And he's got dying grace because he knows it's over. And there's nothing anyone, doctors, no one can do. If you want to call him, I'll be glad to give you his phone number. He would probably like to hear from some of you, just to encourage you. Let me give you the announcements. We are on TV in Nashville Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night at 8:30 on Channel 49. We're also on Sunday morning at 9 o'clock. I watched this morning's message, or half of it, and and we're on TV in about 200, 250 towns and cities. I don't know exactly how many. Dave would have to count them up. And God has opened up a lot of opportunities. We're going on TV in Chattanooga every night of the week. And it's amazing. Sometimes an hour and a half may cost us $60 or $70 at one of the stations. But I think Dave said over there in Chattanooga, it's like $2.74 an hour. You can't even buy a hamburger for that, can you? I said, tell them we'll take all the hours they'll give us. In fact, it's like a little over $1 from midnight till 5 in the morning. So I said, see if you can get those. There's a lot of truck drivers will be out there. So sometimes these stations are real cheap. All of them are not that cheap if you're thinking about going on there. But you have to have something you're giving to them. So anyway, be watching us Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Sunday morning. We help our needy people, just like Michael. We gave him a car. He sold it to his parents so he could have some place to live. And then we've given him, I've sent him $200 every month. Friday I mailed out $200 to him. And we have about 15 people we give money to. And we don't take from the poor, we give to the poor. I'm talking about people that make $500-600 a month in their own disability. We help those people. Let me remind you what the Lord told Moses in Exodus, the 22nd chapter. If you oppress the widow and the orphan, and they cry unto me, I will hear their cry, and I will kill you with the sword. Kenneth Copeland. Might as well put Kenneth Copeland in there because they're cheating the poor and the needy. You're never supposed to do that, because if you can take advantage, you're never supposed to take advantage of anyone. And we send out $50, $100, $150, $200. This is every first of the month. I mailed out Friday our mail out to the poor. I go to the bank around the 27th, 28th. I get about 10 to 12, sometimes 14 cashier's checks. I sit and fill them out myself. I write their addresses and return addresses, put stamps on them, come down here and mail every first of the month. And we got some people that are just treading water, just trying to stay above water. If I could bring all these people here and move them into a unit of some kind, if I had the money, I'd put maybe 8 little rooms out here with a bath in it to bring these people here and let them live here for free until they could get on their feet. But I don't have that. And we also support, if you want to send to the needy, make your check to Grace and Truth Ministries and put needy on the bottom of it. We support our missionaries, that's Scott and Dee, Roy, and they telecast over our website every week. But Scott, since they didn't have anybody in here, there's very few people that speak Spanish, and Scott is preaching the things that I preach in Spanish, and since they were missionaries in Ecuador. Okay. In Ecuador, and they found it necessary to come back here. They didn't get along with the government. They've got a dictator there that doesn't like people here from America. And we're trying to continue the Spanish ministry on the internet. Scott's preaching on the internet, and Dee works with him on getting things on the internet, and they have their own operation separate from Grace and Truth. If you want to support them, send your check, make it to Grace and Truth Ministries, and put on the bottom of the check, mission. I got one other announcement to make. Ron Johnson, who comes here, Ron's daughter, the cute little girl, the long dark hair. Y'all remember her? Her name is Presley. They took her to the doctor, and the reason Ron hasn't been here, they found out that she had a tumor on the brain, right at the brain stem, and they've been to New York, and they've been to doctors up there. They went over to St. Jude in Memphis. That's a children's hospital. They went back for an operation yesterday morning. I haven't got a direct word from them, but we believe that it went successful. They don't know that if it's malignant, and Ron was beside himself. I mean, he's called me several times and just, he's broken. And he said, this is my only grandchild. And he said, I love her with all my heart and soul. I said, I understand that. So we believe, and I told him, I said, whatever happens is the will of God. We have to learn that. That's when you're going through something like that, then you'll learn that. So be in prayer that God will give him strength to undergo what he has to. Him and his wife, he's got 2 sons and 2 daughters. And this is Ashley's little girl, the real cute little girl. She's unusual because she's, Ashley said she asked her, she's 4 years old or 5, and she asked her things like, Mama, how is the eye connected to the brain? I don't know that I would ever ask that question. Said she added up, she taught herself to add when she's about 3. Said she made something like a square. I don't have any pens up here. Somebody took all my pens. She'd add up a square. She'd take a square and then divide it up. I can't get this off. And then she'd say, Mama, you got 2 squares here and 2 here, and that makes 4. She added it up as a 3-year-old. And very bright little girl. Always said she wanted to be a surgeon when she was 3 and 4. Now that she's had this, she wants to be a doctor. I can't imagine at that age wanting something like that. But anyway, we've got a picnic coming up next year. If you're planning to come, that'll be on June the 29th?
Yes.
29th of June, if you're planning to come to our picnic. And then next October the what? 6th. 5. October the 5th, we'll have our chili cookout next year. Well, it's good to see everybody here. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. And I don't know who hadn't prayed in a long time. Ned, back there in the back, won't you pray for us?
Thank you, Lord, for bringing us together. Thank you for all that you bestowed upon us. We know that everything that you're doing is of your will. We thank you, give you praise for all things, Lord. Help us to repent, help us to believe. Help us to die to ourselves and live for you. Pray that you'll keep us in the narrow way. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
Here's the 2 telephone numbers I'm gonna take. 888, that's Chris, that's the consumer there.
Did you guys do something with my pens? I don't have them here.
That's my phone number. When you call me, they go, I'll give them my phone.
Well, I could have got them more here. figured y'all didn't want me to write on the board.
What's got flip phones?
Oh,
With what?
That ain't writing.
yeah.
Wait, when you text.
Oh, really?
No, when you text, do it, I'm through it. I'm not a slave to a cell phone.